Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for our International Women's Day edition of our Limitless Leaders monthly webinar. We meet every month talking about something that is hot, provocative, as they say, in the leadership space. And it is definitely a pleasure to show up and to really create a safe space for leaders to come and to talk about things that are related to them and their experience in the workplace. I should say our experience in the workplace and in their organizations, which is very, very important. I know a lot of times we tend to bash leaders, but leaders need support just like everybody else. We need information. We need to be able the tools and the techniques to do our jobs more effectively. And in today's world, it is more and more challenging to lead. And a lot of people are actually stepping away from it and not even wanting to put themselves forward in leadership because it is challenging. So, hats off to everyone who is committed to being a leader, and a limitless leader is definitely someone who is transformative, who is purposeful and progressive, and really has a heart for people and results. And so this month, we are talking about, in the spirit of International Women's Day and Month, Give to Gain. That is the theme for 2026, Give to Gain. And I shared in so many other sessions this month, other panel discussions and whatnot. And we've been talking about this whole thing about give to gain. And we say, boy, as women, we give so much. We have
Mm.
to give again. But I think the theme really is on the premise of that old biblical principle, sowing and reaping. When you give, you get so much back. And that's really what we want to talk about this month, giving and gaining from critical professional relationships. Many people believe that success comes only from talent and performance and all of them getting results, but growth is often accelerated by the relationships that we build. And we're going to talk about some very specific relationships tonight, mentors, sponsors, allies, collaborators, and any others that may pop up during our session tonight. And so I'm very excited to be joined by this lovely lady. She is an amazing entrepreneur and visionary. Her name is
Oh,
Janay Simonette. I'm going to let her introduce herself formally and all of the things that she's working on and ways that we can support her because I believe in that. When people are in business and offering services, we should support each other. And so we're going to talk about how we can intentionally cultivate these very critical professional relationships. So welcome to the Limitless Leaders platform, Janay.
thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation, really passionate about it. So really happy to get right into it.
Awesome. Me too. No beating around the bush.
No.
So, what do you think about when you hear the phrase give to gain? And what does that mean to you in the context of leadership and career growth?
Yeah, so I my initial or my gut reaction is showing up with value, right? But as I go deeper and I think more about it, especially in the context of International Women's Month, International Women's Day, it is for us to show up with value that based on the work we've done on ourselves, right? So as women, we give a lot. As you mentioned at the beginning, right? We're always giving, but one place we typically forget is to give to ourselves, right? And so one of the things that the work that we have to do as women is spend more time understanding our future self and where we want to be. And that work, and Simmone, you and I have, when we crossed paths late last year, that's what we were working on, right? Um,
Yeah.
really doing the work to understand who we want to be, what value we want to bring to the world. And that type of work took us to take ourselves out of today, put ourselves in the future, where we want to be, what those rooms look like, and what are some of the ways that we're talking and describing ourselves. So, as I keep going, as I keep thinking about give to gain, it's really starting to give to ourselves, right? Starting to understand what value we bring to the world and doing that in a more intentional way, not like a 1 day workshop, but that work really continued.
Oh, yeah.
I can speak for myself. That work continues, and I hadn't thought to do the work before, but every day I work on this. I find more value that I can then give, especially in the context of building critical professional relationships. Because one of the things that you need to do is show up with value in order to start to reap the benefits of that network. So you have to be very clear about what value you provide. And it's not value that you're looking for an immediate return on. This is something that you've got to kind of sow and cultivate and let it work, right? Work its magic. And some trust is in there as well that'll all work out. But once you're very clear on what value you bring, you're more intentional about the rooms you go into. You're not just going into every room and saying, I'll see what this does for me. It's way more intentional than that.
Absolutely. You said so much in there that we are able to unpack, right? But the first thing is in working on yourself, right? I think that is the very first relationship that we ought to understand is that one with ourselves. So often we don't know what we want. I shared in another forum about that. If we want to advance, we want to grow, we want to move forward, it has to start with clarity, right? Clarity of who you are, who you want to be, where you see yourself. All of those things may sound very cliche, but it's really very true. You have to know who you are. And that becomes important when you now have to decide who you want to align with in these relationships. We all know when we align in relationships that don't work well for either party, it's usually because there's something in us or that other person that if we had just explored that a little more, maybe our values don't connect, or there's just vision is not connecting, something is not connecting in that. And so when you really know yourself, you know who to align with, you know who to connect with, who not to connect with. So I think that is a critical point that you've raised from the get-go. And I think the second thing is that you said that's very important is in knowing the value you bring. I find a lot of times people are looking for these professional relationships of what they can get out of it, but not understanding that this is mutual, right?
Right.
Like your mentee or your business partner or whomever is also looking to receive from this
Yeah,
relationship.
exactly.
And so what is the value that you bring? What are the things that you can contribute to the relationship? So on that note, let's start talking about mentors and mentorship. That's a big topic today. One of the things that helped me to become a mentor really was the fact that I never really had any. And it was something that I always wanted and I just never could seem to find, you
Right.
know.
That's
Um,
right.
so I just became what I wanted, and hope that, if I sowed the seed, that I'm going to get some mentor that I would really want to be with and connected with. But what role have mentors played in your journey?
So it's the same for me, right? The mentorship has never been the traditional path. Like I found this person and I went up to them and said, "Will you be my mentor?" It just hasn't happened for me that way. Um, and I think for several reasons, right? I think one is many of us, I consider myself to be multifaceted, right? There's just so many areas that I like to explore, and I want to grow in. And in many cases, when you start to look for a mentor, you're looking for someone with a exact profile that you have, or some alignment there. And so right now, mentorship looks more like a mindset thing. I am not necessarily asking, can you be my mentor? But I'm asking very, let's say, deep questions as soon as I meet them. Well, what made you start that? Or, why was that the path when all of this was going on? So those questions start to get a little bit deeper, right? And the relationship starts to get a bit deeper because of that. So it's not kind of this linear path of, I met you, I really admire you, can you be my mentor? But it's more so about understanding what mindset brought me to admire certain parts of their journey, and ask questions about the journey. And in asking questions about the journey, you start to realize, well, our thinking actually didn't align there. That was more, that fell into their lap, versus they hustled and they went for it. And this is the path that I'm on. And regardless of if they're in retail versus in wholesale, regardless of where they fit from let's say, industry or career perspective, you realize this is the kind of mindset that could take me from here to there. So that's where, because mentorship was a complete failure for me, that's where I ended up taking it. And now I feel like I have so many mentors because I've asked um, these questions, and now they're coming back to me and saying, you know what, you asked a really good question. How about you help me with this? And so I've been able to get clients that way just because of having those more focused and deep questions that really help me to move the needle from a mindset perspective, from where I am to where I want to go.
I like that. That's a great reframe, because I think the traditional model we think about is exactly as you said. You see someone, you admire what they're doing, and then you approach them and say, "Would you be my mentor?" But not everyone may want to be a mentor, first of all. People may not have the time, people may not understand what it means, and so they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to commit to it. So I think having that approach of just asking questions, being curious. So you're not limited. So, as you said, you have so many mentors to choose from because you're just curious about different aspects of what they do and how that relates to what you do. So that's one of the ways that can make a mentoring relationship meaningful and impactful. What are some other ways that mentoring is impactful for you?
So from a let's say, from a career perspective, right? I've worked with, for example, some incredible women, right? I've come across so many incredible women that I look up to. And again, the path wasn't super linear about be my mentor, or can you be my mentor? But it was more so building trust in a working relationship, right? Trying to build that trust. Um, and that took being consistent, being reliable, being the things that help someone to identify that you are worth the risk or worth the time for that. And so those have, and to be honest with you, these weren't, again, this wasn't one of those things that I reaped the rewards right away. it was all of these were like full circle moments where it was like it was a little rocky, a little rough, the relationship, because as you're in it, once you're in the thick of it, it's like, well, what are you trying to accomplish here? But then, you know, as time goes on and you know, everyone's moving in different directions, you kind of come back to that person. That person starts to appreciate just what you were bringing forth in that particular working relationship. So I think another way to think about mentorship is to just to understand you've still got to be very consistent, trustworthy. You've got to put in the work, right? And show that you have what it takes to be mentored or come back around to when the time is right. And everything in God's timing at the end of the day. And sometimes it's hard to see um, where it's going to take you. But this whole, what we're talking about today requires a lot of trust and a lot of trust in yourself that you are doing the right things and people are going to notice that.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that oftentimes we don't trust ourselves enough. And so that affects how we approach these types of relationships
Right.
as well. Not realizing that we're also bringing value, not realizing that you could be as equal a benefit to that other person. As you mentioned, you became someone who provided a service. At the end
Right.
of the day, they became a client based on just asking questions and how you show up and trusting yourself. So that again tells me that we have to not be so result oriented. And this is what I mean by that. And you talked about being open and trusting of yourself, trusting of the relationship, trusting of the process. And when you trust, you let go more. Oftentimes, we're trying to define that end result. We're trying to put it in this box and say, well, this is how it should be. And it just may not be that way,
Right.
and leaving yourself open to getting from it what was needed and understanding even when that season is over and you part or you may not be as needy for want of a better word of what that person has, or sometimes it's just that season is up and I need something else from someone else. On that note, what is a graceful way to honor those seasons and move on as a mentee? Because I can tell you that that is a great source of offense to mentors.
Right.
And it makes mentors feel used when you're approached and someone wants something from you, to pick your brain or guidance or whatever that it might be. And then you don't hear from them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, they disappear, right? I mean, I think we have to honor whatever it was that we did get
Mm-hmm.
and move on with grace. How do we do that effectively?
So at the end of the day, it's all about cultivating relationships. So the relationship never ends, right? The relationship evolves. And communication is a big part of that mentor-mentee relationship. And if you've made it to a certain point, you should have kind of that rapport or have built up that rapport at some point where communication, at the end of the day, that is the core of any relationship is the communication. And understanding that relationships do evolve, you still have to think about how do I continue to cultivate this relationship? How do I continue to ensure that maybe this person, and we haven't spoken about the different categories yet, but how do
Mm-hmm.
I then move this person from mentor to perhaps a sponsor?
Mm-hmm.
Where now this person is backing me when I need them. So our relationship has evolved from mentors to a sponsor. Or this person is now an ally. So when I'm not in the room, that person can still help me in those rooms that I'm not even in yet. or where I would have left the room temporarily and I'm coming back, that person is now my ally. So you have different categories now of where this relationship can go. And I think a part of cultivating, a part of being intentional is ensuring that you are communicating how that relationship is going to evolve, right?
Mhm.
And still keeping the spark alive.
Yes. Yes. I love that. It doesn't have to end. It can evolve into something else, or, you just have someone there like that friend that you don't have to talk to every day, but they're there. And if I
Yeah,
need
we're talking
you,
about busy
you know,
people, busy,
yes.
busy people. So it's no harm. And boy, sometimes the hardest thing is to keep up with people, you have to keep
True.
like a spreadsheet and be like, okay, when's the last time I did this, and enter the dates and these types of things. So it is very difficult, and I think we can all appreciate that um, we're busy and sometimes we pivot, and if you pivot, if you pivot like 3 times, you are doing something, because that means you are learning and you're trying to adjust fast. And anyone who is mentoring you will know that
Yeah.
part of the process anyway. So I would say that the to look at it as the relationship's not ending at all. This is an evolution in our relationship, just to ensure that we continue that rapport. And now I can always count on you as my ally, for example.
Hmm. Hmm. I love that. I love that. So let's talk about a couple of these other categories. So the sponsors. I love talking about sponsors
Mhm.
because and sometimes people can think that mentors act as sponsors, but tell us, what do you think a sponsor is? What is that professional relationship?
So this sponsor is really the person who's willing to put in and it I'm going to say it where it sounds a bit drastic, but it doesn't have to be this drastic, but where they're willing to put their reputation on the line for your name, right? That's your sponsor. This
Mhm.
person is willing to say, I know that Jerry is a good worker. This person is going to elevate whatever project that you're working on, or this person can be a viable investor in your project, whatever it is. This sponsor is willing to put their name on the line to ensure that you get a space in the room. And sponsors are hard to come by, right? Especially in today's day and age, because so many people have been burned. You can't take that away from anyone. That's a part of this entire process. So if you have a sponsor, that means you've done something well. But in order to have a sponsor, it's again these steps. You have to have put in the work, right? You have to have consistency um, in many ways, and I can touch on this later. In many ways, your reputation speaks before you even enter the room, right? So how is your brand before, like when they're online and they're searching, how are you showing up? So then that this
Mhm.
person's job as a sponsor becomes a bit more natural, right? And you've got to it's an art. I would say it's a craft to get a sponsor. It's really risky to put your name on the line for somebody, but it happens, and you see it every day.
It
And people
does.
want to give recommendations. People want to, say they know somebody that can do the job, right? And that's our it's our nature.
Yeah,
How are you
absolutely.
positioning yourself to be that person they speak about?
Yeah. And I can tell you in HR, a lot of times roles may be advertised, but it's the referrals that get people in the door.
That's right.
It's those persons who will be that sponsor, who will advocate and say, okay, well, I have three candidates here, but out of the three, this one,
That's right.
this is the one I think you should really. And you're right,
Work with.
it's a risk. It's a professional risk that you take when you vouch for someone like that. We are advocating for someone in a room. and especially when you are not in that room and
Right.
they are just going to town and saying, hey, this is your guy, this is your lady,
Mm-hmm.
that takes a lot. It's very risky. And so you have to show that you're deserving of that advocacy. So, what are some of the behaviors that someone um, should exhibit for a sponsor to take that kind of a risk?
So you definitely want some sort of consistency, right? You want to show up in a way that shows the quality that you bring to every scenario. Uh, we have Sign Island, and we have, I think, we're at about 30 employees now. And our recent hire, so what we've done recently is that we've adopted this model called the working genius, right? And it
I love
really
it.
talks,
Yeah,
and
I'm a
we swear
facilitator.
by it.
Yes,
Now,
I'm a facilitator. I think it's brilliant. It
I
has to
love
have
it.
been a download from heaven. I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness. So
Goodness.
it it shows us, at least as we go through it, now we can kind of see how people are going to work together, and how what are some of their strengths and weaknesses, and where we can use them and where we can't. So that, in addition to having these behaviors that create this trust, right? Where it
Mhm.
might be discernment, right? And you already know you have this discernment. So you're able to communicate that, hey, these are my strengths. These are what I'm really good at. I'm an inventor, or even better, I have tenacity. I can take this
Mhm.
over the line for you. And so you're not so much selling yourself, but you are, again, aware of what you're good at, and you're able to communicate that effectively. And I feel like the working genius does help with that. And then you kind of build the natural sponsor, like, this person can help you take it over the line. But if you're not communicating well to somebody who can be your sponsor about what your strengths and weaknesses are, um, will be a little bit tough, especially if that person isn't like working with you every day, right? Um, and of course, you have to be visible to them. So out of sight, out of mind, many, many times. So doing your check-ins, hey, I need nothing from you but to say, hello, I saw this, what you did the other day. I think that was great. And, the combination of those, I think, create amazing sponsors.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Build
So,
amazing sponsors for somebody.
yes, for sure. So, my two types of working genius is wonder and
Your wonder
discernment.
and discernment?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow, how'd you get those two?
I don't know. I don't know. So Andrea is asking. She said, I've never heard about this working genius. What
Oh
is that
my,
all
I
about?
love the working genius. So what I love about it is, again, it gives you language. And so you need to name it to tame it, right? So it gives you language to understand your style of working, your working
Mm-hmm.
genius. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, so Kwaku is a wanderer as well.
Ah,
And I'm an inventor and galvanizer, and he's a
ah,
galvanizer as well. So how we hire for our teams is we need someone with discernment, because the two of us, we are going to wonder and invent and take it to a certain point, and we may not
yeah,
make it to the end,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so what it's done for us in terms of our hiring style is, and I know we're getting slightly off topic here,
That's okay. This is good.
what it's done is it helps us to balance our teams, right? And so once we get that referral, because once we will always take a recommendation, but we take them through the working genius, and we understand, and we give them the language that they need to tell us how they work. And then, because we can't have another wanderer on our team, for example, we will need someone with tenacity who can
Tenacity.
over the line, and understanding your weaknesses, and being able to say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm not so good at, if you give me a list of ideas, I'm not probably not that good at picking those ideas, but you can definitely start to allocate that to a team member. So sorry for getting a little bit off topic, but
No, 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 no. I
just talking
think it's
about the
good.
combination of not just behaviors, but obviously your style of getting things done, and using those to be able to also have sponsors be able to speak on your behalf about your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. So for those of you who are asking the question, I know Andrea asked the question, I've not heard about it. It's from a book from Patrick Lencioni. A lot of people are familiar with him, his work on Five Dysfunctions of a Team. That's probably one of his more popular bodies of work. But he's also the author of The Six Types of Working Genius. And it's just an amazing work where he identifies these six ways of working that Janay just talked about. So, wonder is someone who is very visionary and loves to generate ideas. So, like, they're a great person to brainstorm with, right? Like, I could come up with 10,000 ideas, but how do I get to execution? So that type is called tenacity, right? The person who's going to get you over the finish line. They're focused on deadlines and how we get there, how we get it done. Where are you? Where are we? Right? So, Andrea, I think you probably have that type in your working genius as a expert project manager, right? Like you're very focused on getting to finish, right? And that's a type. And then you also have the enabler or enablement as
Well,
another type.
the acronym is widget.
Widget, right? So
Widget. So
wonder,
it would be the wanderer, the inventor, the discerner,
discern,
galvanizer, enabler, and tenacity.
enabler, and tenacity. Yes. So with the invention, you are coming up with you're solidifying ideas that someone is brainstorming about. So
That's
you
right.
actually come up with solutions and things that you can use to implement, right? The discerning type is now assessing what wonder and invention comes up with. Is this a viable idea before you get to execution? And so when you think about it, isn't this typically where we make the mistake of just going from an idea to execution and not
Yeah.
poking the holes that are necessary, right? And then the galvanizer is the person who can rally the troops and you can find the people to get it done. And the enablement gift is the support. You have some people who are just in there, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to help you get over the finish line. And that works well with tenacity because tenacity is going to push you over. So Andrea's asking the question, can you possess all of them or at different times? So the way that it works, once you do the assessment, you have your two dominant types. These are the ones that bring you joy. You love it, right? And then you have two that you're competent in. So you can do them, you enjoy them, but they don't give you as much joy as the first two. And then you have the last two that you don't enjoy at all. And so, what Janay is talking about, what I love about the assessment is it gives you a team map. And so, once everyone on your team takes the assessment, you're able to see where everyone's types are and where the gaps are on your team. So, if you would have heard, she said, we don't need another wonder on our team. We have enough people who are generating ideas. We need people who are going to take us over the finish line. That's important information for a leader to know because you may be wondering, well, why is it that we have all these great ideas but we're not completing? We have so many undone projects and we're not completing, right? So this is good information for you to have as a leader so that you're able to recruit. And I've never heard this in a recruiting context. So that is really cool that you use that to recruit for your
Mhm.
team. I think a lot of times I've seen it done on the back end. You already have a team and you're not working well and you just want to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that you use that on the front end. I
Oh,
think that is really amazing, really
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So to
Anyone
sum up
we
where
hire
we are,
goes through the assessment before we make the decision.
yes, that is brilliant.
Mm.
So you can tell I'm very passionate about it as well. But I am a certified working genius
Oh, that's
facilitator.
amazing.
So
Yay.
I can, if you're interested in doing the assessment, I can definitely set you up with doing that. Just reach out to me and we can work that out. Okay. So to summarize, then we've talked about mentors, and mentors are people who advise and guide. We've talked about sponsors. Sponsors are people who will advocate for you in rooms that you are not in. So in our remaining time, we want to talk about allies and collaborators and any other type that you may have come across or developed in your journey that you may want to bring up. So let's talk about allies. What does being an ally look like in the workplace?
So, an ally is to me more like your cheerleader, right? That person who's going to just be able to say, "Hey, let's do this together," right? I think you can do this. I'm on your side. I'm by your side when we get this done. And this is a very important category, obviously, because you always need you need to rally, right? And when you have ideas, for example, when you have projects, that gift of like rallying, you're building allies. um, it's interesting, and what I wanted to talk about, it's interesting from a small island perspective, right? Because I feel in the workplace, in our country, we're up against a lot of things that would take away our allies, right? um,
Mm,
which may be um, the fact that we do feel like opportunities are limited or finite. um, we may want to be where that person wants to go or is. um, And so I find that this particular one is also quite tricky uh, in the workplace. Um, and with that said, I think it's important again to have the right language. The communication is going to be really important in terms of how you speak to someone when you want to get them on your side. Understanding what that person's goals are, and really having the conversation and being open and building trust, again, becomes such an important aspect of that allyship. um, but yeah, this one sat with me because in the workplace it can be really really tricky, really really tricky. um, there's just the fact that we are now, the world's opening up, it's everything's so much more digital now, so we're not limited to the opportunities on our island, which I think helps as well. And a lot of our allies now are people online that we've never met. And
yes,
that's amazing. So
yes, I love that.
we're in a new day and age. We're now in 2026. We've got to think of allyship a little bit differently. And from our perspective in the Bahamas, we just have to be mindful that um, we say it all the time, not everyone has your back, and it's true, but that's where communication is going to be really important, and building that trust one on one.
Yeah. And I think it really boils down to um, are we here to support or are we here to compete? And it makes you question sometimes the true nature of allyships, friendships, connections, relationships. And especially if you've been hurt before, if you've been betrayed or undermined or in anything of that nature, and you start to feel like, well, I am not gaining from what I'm giving. right? And we can
Right.
put this posture and we put our walls up, and but we can't get around the fact that we need people. We need people. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, this is just where we understand who we are, what our deal breakers are, what our values are, what our boundaries are, how you want to show up in these forms of relationship, how far you're going to give, and what you expect to get in return, knowing that you may not get it from the person that you're giving to. I think that's important. You could be a person that's supportive. You may not get that same level of support from the person that you're supporting. Does that mean that you're not going to get support? It doesn't. You
Right.
just may get support from somewhere else, someone else in a different way. We have to live life like we're always sowing seed,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we give and we release. We gain from another place, you
Right.
know. But if we're that person that's going to be a supportive person at work, that we're going to be an ally, that we're going to give genuinely, and then we determine now how we communicate that and how we
Right.
build trust and know how to move and navigate forward in those types of relationships. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. It's tough, but we still have to continue
We
to
still have, I
give.
mean, they, again, this is where, this is where the world, like, this is what people notice the most when you talk about the uh, bigger audience, right? That allyship is unfortunately what we're measured against a lot of times. Like, how many allies do you have? And you see it all the time. I mean, we've been watching reality shows for I don't know how many years now they've existed, but it's always been the same thing. I think they call them alliances, right? How can you form this
Mhm.
alliance to get? Um, and so if you think about it in that context, I mean, we're really getting to the basic, like, primal,
Yeah,
this is the primal part of networking and building relationships and cultivating those professional relationships. Um, but these are really the ones that you've got to be quite, again, very intentional and kind of like what you're saying, quick in and out. You've got to identify quickly, is this serving you or is it going to drain you? Because
mhm.
it can easily drain you if you're not aware right away. And it might be in a lot of cases, um, it might drain your mental health, for example, because this one is so much in your face every day, and so you really got to protect yourself when it comes to allies. And of course, I mean, and I'm saying it as from a different point of view. Because I think we can talk about the typical way we look at allies and what they are and how they benefit us. But we also realize that the allies that the people that we want as allies, we've got to know ourselves enough to make sure that we're not giving too much and, we're getting drained from it.
Absolutely. And that brings me to our final category of relationship is collaborators. When you talk about healthy collaboration or one that's draining, this is one where you can really feel drained if it's not done right.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's back to how people are leveraging the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you get approached a lot. I get approached a lot, people who want to collaborate. But I realize going in very quickly that it's not a true collaboration. It's just people want to leverage
Yes,
the
it is.
relationship.
It's a leveraged relationship. Yeah. So collaboration is where you scale, right? This is where you can go from 1 to 1,000 pretty quickly if you look at it that way. Um, and but at the same time, the same way you can go from 1 to 1,000, you can go from one to negative, right? And so but this one takes time. This one should take time when you're talking
Mhm.
about collaborations. There's so many things, again, If we start to talk about benefits and risks, you've got a lot of benefits and you've got a lot of risk as well, because you're tying yourself. So you've really got to do your due diligence, do your research. So you never jump into a collaboration without understanding your values and making sure those values align, understanding resources, because you could end up giving all these resources and you find out on the back end they really only had one or two things that they can offer to this collaboration, and so that scale wasn't even possible in the first place. And at the same time, how does that look? How does that collaboration look? Are you losing any part of your identity? And if you are, where does that, where are you finding the balance to ensure that you remain true, or you remain, what you want to be, and they also remain what they want to be? So I think collaborations are such a great tool to scale and get the reach that you want to get. But it's and get the reach fast, mind you, but you just don't want to get into the collaboration fast. You don't want to rush into it because it brings all this excitement, because things can get missed for sure.
Yeah. So here's the $1 million question. Can women collaborate successfully?
Oh, of course,
Or no?
of course. Women are honestly the catalyst, right? The catalyst. We will ignite. We are the igniters. We are the ones we're the tenacity. There's and that's so one of the things that I've been doing in the last year. I go to a lot of women in business conferences. I travel a lot to collaborate with women. And just to kind of give you a backstory, um, I've so it's funny that we're having this conversation, because I started my entrepreneurship journey really young, in my early 20s. And you have so much energy, and I thought this was going to be, I can sit behind my computer for 16 to 18 hours of the day, crank out some work, get my businesses running. This is what it was. And learned down the line that none of that works without the relationship, without the connections. And then it was me going to these conferences to realize, because I thought I was going crazy, actually. I thought what I was trying to achieve was not achievable.
Wow.
Maybe I was in my head and this didn't exist, right? And going and seeing other women literally just doing some incredible things, moving the needle, breaking the glass ceiling, just doing everything that I hadn't seen, because I was so much in this cocoon and not breaking out of that cocoon. I was, and going crazy in that cocoon. When I got out and I saw all of that, that gave me this hope to keep going. And the first thing that someone came up to me, and the first thing she asked me is, how can I help you win? And I was like, I've never been in a space where that, like, everyone just come, how can I help you win? How can I support you
Wow.
in what you are doing? And every woman around the room was doing it, because they knew that the minute if they give, they are going to gain. So it was really that give to gain environment. And I think if we continue to do that, we are going to, the collaborations that women have are going to just move every mountain.
I agree. I agree. And I think as we all continue to evolve as human beings, it makes collaboration that much better, even between men and women.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you and your husband run a business together. So
Mhm.
tell us about that. That's a major collaboration, right? How do
Yeah.
you make that work? That you're literally with someone your entire life, your work life,
Time.
your personal life. Like I
Yeah.
can't get away from this person. But how do
Yeah.
you make that work?
Well, Kwaku makes it easy, right? So one thing that makes our relationship work is that um, he is, and Kwaku, he is so open and so giving, and he loves the networking and the interaction. He loves it. He gets energy from it.
Yeah.
And that works well with our business, obviously, because, you know, and I had to say it a little somewhat political or diplomatic, but that works well in our relationship, because I get to tell him, go out there, you do that, and then I try to figure out all the systems in the back end. So we have a space and we have a place, and we're able to really we've been able to figure out our dynamics, especially with our working geniuses now. We
Mm-hmm.
exactly where we belong, and we're very similar. We're very, very similar. So you also have to be very careful not duplicating efforts, right? But I think in anything, it's important to have a partner, regardless of if it's business, if it's a relationship. It's important to have a partner that you can be open with, that you can speak about your issues, and that person's not going to get defensive, right? Because then that defensive nature makes you hide things that need to be open, so better decisions can be made. And it's all about making better decisions based on the available information at that point. So we're very good at pivoting when things don't work. We're very open about what didn't work and what does work. And at the same time, we know our strengths and weaknesses. So he's Mr. People guy, and I am behind the computer 16 to 18 hours a day. And this is what we enjoy. And so we've embraced all of these things and we didn't fight it. And we've been able to build a working relationship with that. Um, you know, and then we've been through hardships as well. I don't know if you know the story of my daughter, but she was born 4.5 months early during COVID. And I was airlifted to Florida, and he was on the plane with me. He had to sleep on a board for 2 weeks in the hospital because they wouldn't let him out the room because of COVID. And then we spent 4 months in hospital housing with just a bed and a bathroom, no kitchen, nothing, while we wait while we wait for her to come out the hospital. And can you believe those months we spent away from the business, we grew the most, because in experiencing hardship, we also learned how to navigate the business a lot better, and how to, I guess, understand that, with hardship, we've also got to plan more effectively, and things like this. So also going through hardship, and again, being very transparent and open about what's not going well and what's going well in that. And going through that with any human being is going to make you more appreciative to have that human being in those times of crisis.
Absolutely. And they say that's when you really know who people are, it's not in the
That's
good
right.
times, but it's in those tough times.
That's right.
You see what's really inside, and how you're able to come together and join forces against the thing.
Yes.
You're not the hardship,
Right.
and your relationship is not the hardship. It's how we come together to work toward getting
Exactly.
over this hump,
That's
you
right.
know?
And sometimes it can get so easy to think that we are against, like,
Right.
us, and you realize, no, it's we
Yeah,
have to put our focus in the right place here.
correct. You're the unit. You're the unit working to overcome.
Right. And then in
So,
any business, you're going to go through hardships as well. And so it's the same principles for that, when you're working
mhm.
with somebody.
I love it. I love it. So we have talked tonight about 4 essential relationships that would help you in your professional life. And that's the mentor, and that's the person who provides guidance and wisdom and a different perspective from yours. Sponsor, that's someone who advocates for you, who opens doors to opportunities for you. And the ally, that person who supports you, who stands with you, who champions with you. And the collaborator is that person who will partner with you to expand, or as you said, to scale your ideas, your projects, and your impact. And so, as you think about these relationships in our audience tonight, which of these relationships do you think you need to strengthen? The mentor, the sponsor, the ally, or the collaborator? And as you share your responses, I would invite you, Janay, to just share your closing thoughts with us tonight on this whole topic of cultivating critical professional relationships.
So yeah, I've got some points that I wanted to everyone to take away from today. And it's really 30-day practical steps on what to do next. And so if you had to do anything in the next 30 days towards cultivating these critical professional relationships, I would say it's these three. So one is reaching out to persons that you were meaning to reconnect with. And this one's a big one for me, right? Because I get caught up. I know I get caught up. And so for me, this is a big one. So, but not to ask for anything, just to genuinely check in and again, not be out of sight, out of mind, really being coming back to, the top of somebody's inbox or, message box. The second one would be to identify one collaborator you've been watching in the distance. Send them something of value, an article, a thought, or this could be a collaborator or a sponsor, but share something of value, a genuine observation about their work. Again, no ask attached, just sending something that you think would be valuable to them. And then doing something with absolutely no expectation of a return, like making an introduction to maybe a few people of someone who you think would be good for them to meet or the other to meet, or simply amplifying someone's work. I know, Simmone, I try to amplify everything you do as much as possible,
Oh, thank you.
and I feel like that's my small contribution to ensuring that the really important work that you are doing continues to gain traction. So I think doing something like that, making introductions, amplifying someone else's work, helping to open a door is also something that can be done in the next 30 days that really really starts the process, starts to sow the seed that you need to grow into a nice big tree.
I love that. I put them in the chat. If you didn't get an opportunity to, I hope I captured them well. But I put it these 30-day tips. Check in with someone, share something of value, and do something with no expectation of return. Give to gain, y'all. Give to gain. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you um, for sharing and just being who you are, Janay, in the space. I think you are an amazing powerhouse. And I admire you
So
too
much
from
for
a
having
distance. Sometimes you have people who mentor you and they don't even know that they're mentoring you
me. Oh,
when you're
I
following
feel great.
along.
Oh, I'm so happy you invited me. This is really energizing, and again, in the spirit of International Women's Month, I think this was such an incredible forum for us to get together.
Yes, and this is hopefully the first of many such collaborations.
Definitely.
So I just want to share with all of you that we must take our relationships seriously. They're one of the most powerful assets that we have in life and in our careers. And when we lead with generosity, we lead from a spirit of support and encouragement and collaboration. We're not just building networks, but we are building communities. I believe that we are being transformative. We're lifting each other up, we're lifting humanity. And the world does not have to be this dark, fearful place. We can find these safe spaces and wonderful people to connect with. You know, that's why I'm always just very open and very friendly because I get that in return. I
Mm.
get to meet wonderful people like all of you who are here today, you know, and to me, that is success. And so I want to encourage all of us to just go out there and continue to do what you do, continue to lift each other up, to continue to share. And we're all going to be much better for it. So thank you for joining us again this month. Thank you for being a part of us, Janay.
Thank you.
And I look forward to more platforms where we can share and be helpful to people.
Looking
Oh,
forward to
yeah.
it. Thank you, everyone.
Andrea's sharing her connections there on
Oh, perfect.
LinkedIn. Please feel free to do that. And yes, I'm so sorry. We did start an hour earlier. We
Oh,
usually
we
start at
have
7.
Natasha from New York here. Yay, Tasha. Send your.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm going to definitely connect to Tasha went out and bought the book. She is not even playing.
Oh, you won't regret it, honestly.
No, no, it's really awesome. And maybe what I can do in one of these um, sessions is just do like an info session on it.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Um, yeah, just share more about what it is, about the model and how you can use it. So yeah, thank you for that. See,
Yeah.
something good always comes off, you know, and you're off script.
I'll be the first to register, trust me. So much
All
to
right.
learn about it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a wonderful tool. I really, really, really love it.
Awesome.
Oh, Raymond is from your neck of
Oh,
the woods.
really? Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, see, Andrea is she shared in her community. So I really appreciate that about her. And we do it on the flip side too. We share each other's stuff.
That's so awesome. I will be following everyone after this.
Yeah, just hanging on here just to make sure you all get to share what you want to share. Share your LinkedIn contacts. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Yolanda, Raymond, Natasha, Andrea, Yolanda, Abigail, Chidi. Thank you for being here. 6 hours ahead. We always appreciate you. You might be fast asleep right now. Donna Marie,
I'm awake.
Elude. I know,
I'm
right?
awake.
Latoya, Patrenda, Patrice, thank you. Sieska, Sean, thank you so much for being here with us. And we look forward to seeing you. Now, Patrenda, you got to get on LinkedIn.
Oh,
LinkedIn is
love
the
to share
place.
part two next time. Yes, Andrea.
Well, I can help you reach out. Let me help you get on there. Oh, you want a part two? All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you're a behind the scenes lady. Yes, I know. It's hard when you have to stretch and be visible. Yes, please do. And I'll put my email here in the chat as well. All right. And I've got your contact. Good, good, good. I'm happy. Donna Marie is in Belize.
Oh, nice.
Fresh break for everyone. But listen, that's some serious love. That's what I love. Nice, warm baked bread. All right. Well, thank you so much, folks. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next month.
Hi, everyone.